What's up, everybody? Welcome to Impact Lab Radio. I'm excited for you to really tune in and listen to this episode and this individual that I am going to be interviewing and presenting to you, to many of you, and some of you will be meeting her again, is the one and only Linnita Hosten. Linnita is one of those people that I don't really remember how we met. I just remember that we met doing what we do.
That's very true.
And and she's always been the pillar of professionalism, one of the coolest people that you will meet and know. We've done some events together. I've seen her on stage. And when we're talking about communication and all of success is connected to communication, I can't
Mhm.
think of anybody else that I would love for you to listen to and I would love to talk to about it besides the one and only Linnita Hosten. Linnita, how you feeling? How you doing?
Excited to be here. Thanks for choosing me to be a part of Impact Labs. And by the way, I do remember how we met. It was at a convention and we met in the lobby. I introduced myself and you introduced me to another colleague. And that's one thing about you. You've been a connector, you've never been a gatekeeper. So I appreciate that about your consistency.
Awesome. Was that in Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Got it. I think it's coming back to me now. But Lanita is a communication expert. She's also a speaker. She's an author. We're going to be talking about how she can help your organization or you as an individual save or make money, save time and energy. And so, Lanita, just for the people that don't know you, for the people that are meeting you the first time, why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got here to this point?
Okay, let's go. So I'm Linnita Hosten, based in Baltimore, Maryland, and I got started in the work of communication. It was a part of my full-time job. Straight out of college, I was hired as a spokesperson, and I was sent across the state of Maryland to do presentations. I got really good at speaking, and other people would see me and invite me to other conferences. But there's a backstory to this. In college, when I went to pursue my major, the goal was to become a journalist, but my speech did not mirror those who were on TV. So I changed my major. So I quit, only to refine the skills, which is why I teach communication, only to refine the skills in the professional setting and then to sell the skills to other professionals. And so, fast forward, I traveled the country as a keynote speaker for about 8 years. And in all honesty, one day I was on stage and I told myself in my head, I'm bored. I am bored. So I spent 2 years, 2 years, one coming out of the pandemic, one post pandemic, 2 years trying to figure out what was going to be my next way to impact the world. And a close friend of mine, whenever I would see him, he would introduce me to people and he'd say, This is Lanita. She teaches people how to speak. I did not do that at the time. So I thought he was crazy. I'm like, Stop telling people that. I don't do that. He was like, No, you do that. And one day I did a video on, I was doing a podcast interview similar to this. And a woman asked me who was doing the interview, How did you get so good at speaking? And I said, I wasn't good. I wasn't good. And I started running down the things that made my speech imperfect. And that video went viral. So I started creating more content around communication skills and how those who feel insecure about their current speech abilities, speech patterns, and speech effectiveness, how they could grow the skill. And then I fell in love with it. So I started hosting classes and my own events. And my latest new book is around the skill of communication. So that's kind of like the full story in a nutshell.
And for those of you that are listening, if you're an expert, especially we target and look at experts that are 40 and above. Um, I think what you said, Lanita, as far as for people that feel insecure, people that feel like maybe like younger Lanita, my speech or my the way that I spoke wasn't good for this stage. I think what you do is life changing in that regard because success is communication, but a big part of that is confidence. And a big
Yes.
part of having confidence, you have confidence for you, but you also have confidence to influence other people. And so
Yeah.
your book, Earn Your Influence, talk about that and how this work connects to helping people earn that confidence and
Mhm.
helping people with that.
So much to unpack there, Odell. First, let's start with some of my clients, actually, most of them are over 40 and they are already in a leadership role, yet feeling ineffective. So, ineffective in leading a meeting, ineffective of the project that they're receiving, and very insecure about how their voice is coming across or feeling like it's not effective. So, that's one segment. So, and the only reason why they're coming for support is because now they're going after an executive seat or they want more or they want more money and they know that that requires them to be compelling and concise, and so now they're coming to learn the skill. And we spend about a month and a half in one particular area, and that is demystifying how they feel they show up either
Mm,
on camera or in real life. It's not even always a concrete thing. Like we're watching footage of them, they're sending me footage of their meetings and how they were presenting themselves, and we are always the most harsh critic of ourselves. So we spend a lot of time peeling back the insecurities and sometimes labels that other people place on us. Sometimes it's childhood wounds. And I didn't say this, I'm a certified holistic coach. Holistic meaning spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, and did I say physical?
yep.
Social. All of the elements that make up a whole person. And we take that approach to your communication. So if you have a history of being told that, I don't know if you'll ever be good or if you're good or if you're effective. If you have a history around that or you just have a lot of experience where you weren't affirmed, that is going to be a barrier to how you communicate. And sometimes it's not even what you say, it's how you look. Sometimes we're peeling back that layer. I don't feel like I look like a leader or present myself as that. So the base root of all of that is confidence. But the underlying root are all those other pillars that we have to peel up in order for a person to manifest confidence on the outside. So it's a lot of deep work. People, and you know what, Odell, crazy thing? A lot of my clients come back and say, this was way more than some public speaking. I feel like a different person. Yes, because we were below the surface. Public speaking is the tool that manifests itself in public, but in private, you gotta like who you are.
Mm.
So yeah, deep stuff.
That's big. And so I know we could talk about this all day, and I geek out on communication and do all of that. I want to make sure that our listeners get their money's worth from this. So I'm going to ask you a couple of practical things, but you mentioned something that I have to go back to when you're talking about the whole person. And we know this by people on stage. You can be on stage, you can say the exact same thing as the person that comes after you, that comes before you. But if you say it like this, or if you say it like this, like those little things of communication. A
Little.
lot of people think about communication as just the words that I speak. And when you're
Yeah.
talking about the holistic approach, you're talking about how you carry yourself, how you feel about yourself.
Everything.
And sometimes those high performers that are 40 and above, they're kind of fixed in that. And so I just want to make sure that those listening know that you work with that, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an area that I have to ask. Can we go there?
Go
Can we
there.
go there?
Go there. Do
But
it.
yeah, we talk about communication in three parts. We talk about your verbal competency, which are the words and the language that you use to get the action that you'd like. So some of us have a history or we're accustomed to speaking in an authoritative tone because we have perceived and it works for us. That's how you get results. So language, learning where your language comes from. The second competency is your vocal competency. This is how you sound as you're speaking. Those are your pauses, your ums and ahs, your volume, your pitch, your tone. And then there's your visual competency, which is what you're referring to. And that is sometimes it's the color you're wearing, the fit of your clothing. It's also your body mechanics, the use of your hands, pacing in your feet or not, the stability of your legs. Like it's a complex. I always say communication is the process of the transfer of information to a recipient. It's the process of transferring it. But what you're transferring are all those things, nonverbal and verbal. So it's a lot to consider.
I love that. And so, somebody watching this, I want to throw a couple of scenarios at you because we're all about impact, about showcasing experts, but we want those listening and watching to, again, make some money, save some time, save some energy. If I'm an executive, and I use the example that you used, I want to get promoted. This sounds good,
Mm-hmm.
Lanita, but is it really that important? I'm not a public speaker. I don't,
Mm,
I do I do I really
mm,
need to focus on that? What would you say to that person?
mm. You know, when you are an executive, it is your vision that you're responsible for cascading top down. You do that through your language. So that means you could walk in a room with that level of authority and people respond. But I always say, do you want people to respond to your title or do you want them to respond to the the vision that exceeds usually you as the person? So it's always deeper than just being in charge. I always think of leadership as a role of responsibility, sometimes even a gift that you're entrusted with. And the people who are helping you to reach the goal, I feel leaders are responsible for growing them too. The only way you can really multiply people is empower them through language and skill building. We do that through how we speak to them, how we encourage them, how we see them in language, and give them opportunity. So the more visible you are, the more competent your communication skills they have to be. The more visible you are, the more privilege you have to impact the ears and the hearts of those you lead. And I would also go as far to say the more visible you are, the more you'll be called on to share your vision and or ideas. And that's from stakeholders, donors, employees, people who are considering observers, peers. And the last thing I'll say is you use the skill of communication in every one of your relationships, not just in the workplace. You use them in your marriage, you use them in parenting, you use them when you're in the medical facilities advocating for care for yourself or aging parents. And you you would leave a skill that you have to use every day underdeveloped if you had the possibility to develop it. You would leave it, you would choose to leave it underdeveloped, knowing that it could impact you holistically. That's the question I always ask people.
That's a good question. That's a good question. What is something, Lanita, that people believe about either communication or the work that you do directly that is wrong?
Mm. Um, I would say that the way that you currently speak and or present yourself isn't something that can be changed. Like if you have a dialect or you have um, a slur or you have a way of speaking that's culturally to your environment, you feel like, oh, I can't change that or I can't be a polished presenter. That is wrong because being articulate just means that when you speak, you are clear. It doesn't mean that you are clear and sounding like a particular subgroup of people. So a
Mm.
Jamaican man can be articulate. Are you clear when you're communicating? Do people understand what you're saying? And I love when those who are when those whose language, their primary language isn't English, I love seeing them present and they're articulate, but they have this accent underneath their English speaking. So yeah, I would say that's something that definitely people get wrong, that you can't either perfect it or polish the version of you that's true to who you are, not masking it. Yeah.
And you've touched on this before, but I want to go a little deeper in what you do in the process of it because we put things in categories and boxes. So we're like, oh, she's a speech coach or she teaches people how to speak or whatnot, whatever that is. But we've already talked about how it's deeper than that. If somebody is afraid to speak in public. They're afraid to be a public speaker, but they have some willingness. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I would say that that's a normal feeling. Think about when you try to embark on even becoming a leader for a first time. I would be very sure you felt uncertain, lacking confidence. You were afraid because it was new. And you had to grow the confidence muscle through practice. It's the same thing with the skill of communication. It's just a skill. It is not a way a person was born or a trait. Skills are things we can learn and master. So I'd say reframing it like, hey, this is a new thing that I'm embarking upon. It's a challenge. And the irony is when you overcome the fear of public speaking, it unleashes so many things. I've seen it in the people who've taken my classes. It's almost like they don't become a new person, but they start going after new things.
Mm,
It's incredible. So you're right. I title myself a public speaking coach, but I was just telling one of my good friends, it's actually more than that, but I haven't gotten the language around what the outcome ends up being. So yeah, I would tell them it's just a skill.
it's just a
Just like
skill.
riding a bike, grow the muscle. Yep,
Skills pay the bills. Skills pay the bills.
they do.
Lord knows we got those bills. But in that on that note, what you do and when people come to you, they have to pay and they have to pay a hefty amount. But what I want to ask as it relates to the return on investment with you, I want to taper people's expectations? Do you
Yeah.
help them get prepared for like an event? Let's say I have a TED talk coming up. I have a big meeting in front of the board of directors in 6 months. Do you help them? Is it based on that, or do you help them just in general? It's like a 6 week something that you take everybody through.
Yeah. So we do it based on your immediate need. So sometimes people come and I don't like this approach, but I offer them where their need is. They're like, hey, I got this conference coming up. I don't know what I'm doing. And my office wants me to know what I'm doing. So here, they're paying me to go figure out and get help. I don't enjoy that because that is a band-aid.
Mm,
Because it's not enough time for us to really unravel the depth of who you really are as a communicator so that we can get the real version of you to show up when you get to that conference in front of 200 people. That is what we would call a coaching container. But I offer them both. So you can do what we call an ad hoc coaching session where we're working on a specific goal, and the outcome can be a keynote from start to finish. I mean, anecdotes, jokes, transitions, main points, opening, closing, visuals, as detailed as you would like help. So we could do that, or we can work long term, which is my preference because those are the people who I really see run, where we're working through, okay, where are your deficiencies? Where do they come from? How do you want to show up differently in this place? And then we could talk about, like, all right, let's talk about how you're leading your meetings or how you want to show up at the conference. So that's one way. So there, when we're working with organizational leaders, we give them the option. You want to work on a project or you want to work on you? The crazy thing on down, this is the last thing I'm gonna say. When they choose this, sometimes it empowers them to start looking for bigger jobs.
hmm.
And I love that. I love that because they come like, and this is so crazy. They'll come like, my job, and they're paying for this. I love my job. They're so supportive. So I'm just grateful. And then as we're working along, they're like, wait a minute, I'm so much bigger than what I'm doing. It's like the power of their voice starts growing, and they have this revelation like, actually, I have more to offer. It's beautiful to see. Sometimes that has been producing their own event, producing their own content series, opening up a Substack. And these are not things that I suggested to them. I don't know. They just have this. I don't know. It's beautiful to see.
And you also work with companies too. Like if a company wanted to train their executives like a leadership retreat or
Yeah.
to train their middle managers, do you do work like that as well?
Yeah, we have. We've done that with a manufacturing company. That was pretty fun. It was all men. The Baltimore Ravens, they have a dietitian team. They wanted them to polish up on their communication skills. And I hope they watch this interview because we never came back to solidify that work, but I'd love to work with them, but they did reach out. So yeah, if you have a group and you'd like to do some form of group training, but you want it to be specialized to your organization, yeah, we can do that too.
I love that. And as we're winding down, I want to make sure that you look in the show notes, reach out to Linnita. She's again amazing, as you can tell. I want you to leave the listener or the watcher, if they're viewing this, I want you to leave them with something. This is the Impact Lab. So something for them to work on, something for them to
Mhm.
experiment moving forward. Let's say they listen to this, they're hearing this on the subway, in the car, on the train, in the Uber, in the airplane. Give them something to work on really quick before we go.
Something they can work on as it relates to their communication skills or just anything.
Communication skills.
Okay. I'll say the next time that you are invited to a meeting and you have an opinion or an idea, say it. Say it as your heart is pulsating, sweat is gathering up under your armpits, and your palms are getting sweaty. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable using your voice. There are so many ideas that never get manifested because we're afraid to speak up. And this is for every layer of leadership. And last thing I'll say as it relates to this, start practicing this at home. So if you have an interaction with your child and something comes up and something comes to mind, say it. If you have an interaction with your spouse, say it. What you practice at home, you become very well versed applying at work. So apply it at home first, where you spend, well, depending on your lifestyle, you may not spend most of your time at home. But at home is where the people you love and you care about. It's a great place to grow your communication skills and then transfer that when you get to the workplace. The goal is that you are the same person in both spaces. You cannot grow what you continue to change. So if you turn off how you speak, talk, and show up at home, and when you get to work, you're a new person, those both of those people need development. Be one person to compound your growth. So be the same person at home, work on those communication skills at home, and apply them when you get to work. I guarantee you, you'll see a difference.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you've heard the expertise of the one and only Linnita Hosten on the Impact Lab Radio. Make sure you tune in next time. Reach out to Linnita if you want to up level your public speaking, if you want to get promoted by speaking up, if you just want to transition into another career and learn how to advocate and speak for yourself, then you need to reach out to Linnita. Y'all know how we do. We'll see y'all at the top, not from the top. Take care.